Back on Get Up, and tonight, the KD-less Warriors will look to stave off elimination once again in the final game at Oracle Arena, and once again, they will need bid production from Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Here are the Splash Brothers talking about winning for KD.
And I expect our fans to be the loudest they've ever been, especially in the name of Kevin and, you know, bringing his type of spirit he would bring to the fight and the competitiveness. I know our fans will do that because we deserve it, but more importantly, Kevin does for what he gave this team, this organization. There wouldn't be banners if it wasn't for his presence, so we expect our crowd to be loud for him.
I don't think much needs to be said about the motivation that we have or are going to have tomorrow. Like Klay said, to protect our home court, feed off our crowd's energy, play for K, and try to keep our season alive. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can kind of tap into for energy tomorrow. We'll be ready.
All right, tomorrow is now today. All the marbles on the line tonight, and Jay Williams is going to show us some tape as we look forward.
A lot of people want to blame Nick Nurse for that timeout, but how about this? The defense of Toronto overall was to their demise. Golden State made 23s, Greeny, 23s. They only made 18 twos, and they shot 48% from the three-point line. And some of these defensive lapses are things that broke down in the last 3 minutes of the ball game. We're going to see this play develop. You're going to see Steph with the ball as he brings the ball down the court. And here's the beautiful part about this game as it goes up. Look at the spacing of this, right? Slip comes up, he comes up, Draymond's up. All right, Draymond, go right here. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 Warriors all above the free throw line, Caron, right? Look at the spacing, what it opens up for this side of the court for a three-point shot. Obviously, you got Boogie over here in the corner spacing. He brings Marc Gasol out. But you're going to see as the play comes up, they're going to double-team Steph, okay? 1-2 on Steph, which allows Draymond to be a free screener. Draymond's going to screen Kawhi, who's guarding Klay. You're going to see Quinn Cook drift down to the corner. But the most important person here to watch is Norman Powell. He's going to kind of be in no man's land as the play develops. Play comes on, free screen. Here comes another free screen, Caron. Free screen. What is Norman Powell doing? He's guarding Quinn Cook down here in the corner, but he needs to be up here in this action, especially considering there's no help on the screen on Draymond.
Look, and I want to see more. Even though Draymond is out here body searching and hunting on the perimeter, he's always popping back out on the perimeter for a shot and an opportunity that he's not going to take. I would love to see him dive, what you stated right here, and get one of the guys on the elbows or at the boxes to tag in.
Man, Norman Powell's looking here. I mean, if you're watching that, if you're staring here, you're not paying attention to that, that's the problem. He comes off, bang, knocked down. He's shooting 57% from the three-point line in the NBA playoffs, by the way. Just in case nobody knows.
Hot hand.
Right, hot hand. Another play developing, boom. Waving them through, screen. Now, this is simple. Defensive miscommunication here, Greeny. He's already on the green, he's already in the high side. Green, okay?
Yeah.
Fred VanVleet's already on the high side here, Caron.
Jumping the
switch. It's an easy switch. If you decide not to switch because you're tired or sometimes your body can't communicate, your mouth is not in tune with what's actually happening with your body, you're going to see Steph just curl around here. And that's, I mean, look, this screen right here.
You got to be careful on that screen.
On that screen.
You got called for that at the end of the game.
What, 6'9", 6'10", 285 pounds?
Find that body.
You got to run around that, right? As he runs around it.
Look at that.
He's late. And you can't even see it, but Steph kicks out that little leg just in case Fred runs this way, which allows him to hit that leg. But once again, 44% from the three-point line in the finals. He's making that, right? Defensive lapses, once again, as a play. Now, here's the person to pay attention to, Greeny. Marc Gasol, my man right here. Just watch him. Now, watch when the race starts. Marc Gasol is running. Where's Boogie? Boogie's back here. Marc Gasol is here, right? Yep. So it teaches you bigs should run all the way back to the paint. I can't do it right now, hold on. All right, we're going. Big should run all the way back to the paint. Marc Gasol to the paint. Get back to the paint, protect the paint. But when you're going against Golden State, they flare out. You have to guard the three, okay? Watch for Marc Gasol. Who's he guarding? Who is Marc Gasol guarding? Who is Marc Gasol guarding?
No man's
Who's he guarding? Now, you're going to see Iggy open right here. Now, I want you to watch this, Greeny. This is incredible.
Yeah.
They make 3 passes within a second. Within 1 second, 3 passes. The ball's going to hit Iggy. Watch how Iggy is going to kick the ball here to Draymond, and you're finally seeing Boogie get back into play. And also, you're going to see a guy here in the corner who has his hand raised, who's wide open. He is naked open. Watch how the ball goes.
Not just any guy.
Bam, bam, bam. All in the second, Greeny.
Sidestep.
Sidestep, splash.
Cash.
So everybody wants to talk about the Nick Nurse timeout. My thing is, those plays, psychologically, down the stretch defensively, that's why Toronto
In case it
lost that
wasn't
game.
clear, those were the last three baskets
plays.
of the game. Those were the threes that wound
Come
up
on,
winning
man.
the game.
Drop the mic.
Well
Drop the
done.
mic
All
on
right.
Jay.
They'll try. The Raptors will try and win a championship for Canada tonight. Speaking of Canadian championships, how about the Stanley Cup final last night, Laura? I would argue is the best sports day of the year. They're celebrating like crazy in St. Louis. Tiger Woods tees off about 5 o'clock this afternoon at Pebble Beach. And then Game 6 of the NBA Finals is on the schedule tonight.
Yep. How excited are you about Pebble Beach?
Well, there are no words to describe.
Oh, yeah, I can't. I don't
Smile.
I'll sit next to Caron with all this money. Look at all this money. I don't look good next to that.
Struggling over there.
Man,
Sorry.
got
We are,
diamond pendants.
we are sartorially splendid, and we are revved up and ready to go, and we're going to start in Oakland. Game 6 of the NBA Finals tonight. Final game at Oracle, one way or the other. But the Warriors have struggled at home against Toronto this year. They've lost all 3 games, including, of course, the 2 in these finals. But it is tough to knock out the champs at home. In the last 25 years, reigning champs facing elimination are 5-1 at home in the finals. The one loss in this building, Golden State to the Cavs in 2016. As you obviously know, Kevin Durant is out. That means more Steph Curry. Curry averaging 10 more points per 36 minutes with Durant off the floor in these playoffs and attempting 5 more shots per game. So it could be time for Steph to have a huge night to try and keep his season alive. Meanwhile, his teammate Kevin Durant, as by now I'm sure you've seen, was on Instagram from a hospital bed yesterday, posted a 4-paragraph message explaining how he was feeling, saying in part, "I'm hurting deeply, but I'm okay. Basketball's my biggest love." You see him finishing here saying, "I know my brothers can get this Game 6, and he'll be cheering along with them." His coach, Steve Kerr, spoke yesterday about the decision to play him in Game 5.
This last month was a cumulative, collaborative effort in his rehabilitation. Kevin checked all the boxes, and he was cleared to play by everybody involved. Now, would we go back and do it over again? Damn right. But that's easy to say after the results. When we gathered all the information, our feeling was the worst thing that could happen would be a re-injury of the calf, and that was the advice and the information that we had. And at that point, once Kevin was cleared to play, he was comfortable with that. We were comfortable with that. So the Achilles came as a complete shock. And, I don't know what else to add to that other than had we known that this was a possibility, that this was even in the realm of possibility, there's no way we ever would have allowed Kevin to come back.
So there's all of that. And it should be pointed out, Doris Burke reported that at the beginning of the game, Game 5, that the advice had been that the worst that could happen realistically was that he would re-injure the calf, but nothing as catastrophic from an injury standpoint as this turned out to be. So, Jay, Will, obviously you were there. You know Kevin Durant as well as anybody in the media does. What is your big picture take?
Ultimately, I think this falls on the Golden State Warriors. He got misdiagnosed. And I know for a fact that he was told that with a torn calf, a partial torn calf, that it unloaded the pressure on the Achilles, that there was no chance that the Achilles could be injured at all. And for that to happen in the first half of a ball game, I think I can't even fathom that, because watching it, I got ignited. I got pissed off, because that's what you came into the game thinking was going to happen. Number 2, from a public relations perspective, I think the way the Warriors have handled this whole thing has been horrific. Their camp knew that they weren't going to play until Game 5, Game 6. It was set from the beginning. The Warriors didn't come out and say that. They said potentially, even during the Portland series, hey, he could come back. Game 1, he could come back. Game 2, he could come back. Joe Legup's going on Stephen A. Smith's show, Greeny, and saying he will be back. I think all of that gives subliminal pressure to a player who we all know wants to compete at the highest level. Now, if you really have his best interests at hand, if you really want this guy to be around for the next 4 to 5 years, you say, you're not playing this game. We're thinking long-term instead of short-term. But when it seeps into your mind that you think he could leave, all of a sudden, we have to get it right now. And I don't care what anybody says, that plays into your psyche a little bit when you think this guy is going to leave and you want to make sure that you get a three-peat. Because for a team, it's about winning right now if you're not going to have that option next year.
Now, Caron, you played with Kevin. You're also very close to Kevin. What are your thoughts as we watch all of this happen, especially what Jay just said?
I don't think he checked all the boxes, and I think he was misinformed And when you have that type of information that's thrown at you, you think that you can go out there on that platform and be the best possible version of yourself. And Doris Burke reported it extremely well. And I think Jalen Rose touched on it also on this show, where he said with his eye test, Kevin Durant did not look like he was ready to go out in the NBA Finals and perform at a high level. And our biggest fear became the biggest nightmare for a lot of us that's extremely close to him, that love him as a human being. And, you know, that's what it was. He got injured.
So Klay Thompson got injured, and we talk about this all the time.
They've released him.
Exactly. And if we're competitive, sometimes like we want to go out there and compete against the best. We don't care how injured we are. But it's the team's job to actually protect you from yourself, right? So they protected Klay. And I don't see anybody talking about Kevon Looney today. Like, Kevon Looney's in his contract year. I know it's not the same amount of money that Kevin Durant's going to make, but Kevon Looney rushed back from injury, then got re-injured again. And now we're talking about him trying to come back. How could this affect his free agency as well? Like, these are all questions for all these guys that are lingering now.
It's such a complicated conversation.
I agree.
We also laud the athlete who comes back and plays through the pain and plays through the injury and sacrifices whatever he or she may sacrifice in the interest of winning a championship. When the result is arguably the best player in the world having the worst injury you can possibly have, it changes the dynamic of the conversation.
It really does, and that was the hero moment that everybody wanted, and, you know, that was the headline in the story, but ultimately it did not work out in his favor. And I can just think back to 2011 when Raymond Brothers and the Dallas Mavericks elected to protect me from myself and not allow me to go on that platform and re-injure myself.
Yeah.
And that's when all the narratives run away, Greeny. That's when people say, oh, he's selfish. He's only thinking about himself. You know, he's thinking about free agency. He's not thinking about his team. Like, if you're Kevin Durant, you're sitting back, you know he takes all that stuff in. He feels that. It's just unfortunate all the way around, man.
It is
all the way around.
It is a perfect storm of terrible circumstances in the sport. Now, there are a lot of other major NBA
NBA Finals. The S is in play, so too is the trophy, because if the Raptors can win again in Oakland, the title is theirs. 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC. The game's in Oakland, where the Raptors are perfect. 3-0 at Oracle this season, and all 3 of those wins by double digits. And one of them, Kawhi didn't even play. Bruised hip. If the Warriors are actually able to right the ship, they'd be the 4th team in NBA history to force a Game 7 in the finals after trailing 3-1, and the first team to do it since it was done to them in 2016 by the Cavs. And we all know how that one played out.
Kyrie Irving was a part of that team, that Cavs team that did that. Irving making a move now with his own management team. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting Kyrie parted ways with his longtime agent, clearing the way for him now to work with Jay-Z's Rock Nation. All this coming just weeks shy of the start to NBA free agency on June 30th.
The Celtics want Anthony Davis. The Lakers want him. The Pelicans actually have him, but for how much longer? Talks are happening. The Celtics have more assets, but Davis's agent, Rich Paul, has also come out and said if Boston gets him, it's only going to be for a year, and then AD's just going to go to LA in free agency. Don't blame me, says Rich Paul.
Free agency was supposed to be the focus for Kevin Durant this summer, but now that focus shifts to recovery and rehab and rest. Durant announcing successful surgery on his ruptured Achilles tendon yesterday, saying he's hurting deeply, but that he's okay.
So the Patriots had a party at Robert Kraft's house to hand out Super Bowl rings, and a bunch of people were there, including a former Patriots chaplain who is now the Texans' executive VP of team development. Nick Caserio, who's the Patriots director of player personnel, he was at the party too. And then a day after the party, the Texans fired their GM and asked to interview Caserio to fill that suddenly open position. And whoa, hold up, the Patriots are calling foul. According to Adam Schefter, they've now filed tampering charges against the Texans. Half-hour headlines, by the way.
Yeah, a little bit of a dog hears a funny noise head tilt on that story. Of course, the story of the night, it's a big sports day, U.S. Open in Pebble Beach. Also, Game 6 of the NBA Finals.
Just a few things.
Without Kevin Durant, no longer waiting in the wings. For more on that, we send it down to Mike Greenberg in New York. Good morning, Greeny.
Good morning, guys. You could argue it's the best sports day of the year so far, with Tiger teeing off at 5 and then the game tipping off at 9 o'clock. And obviously the one person who won't be there is Kevin Durant. And Jay Williams here, and we know how close you are to KD. How would you describe, with the roller coaster of emotions and of public perception that has gone on around him for the last several weeks, including this week, how would you describe the way he's handling it?
Yeah, I think I could provide some insight into just that ride, Greeny. It's been so volatile. And I think a month ago, we're having conversations about Kevin Durant being the best player in the world. A couple of days later, we're having conversations about, are the Warriors better without Kevin Durant? Then the narrative changes to, well, it's only a pulled calf. He can come back and play. Look, Klay Thompson came back and played. Kevon Looney came back and played. Is Kevin Durant selfish? Is the only thing about his free agency? He doesn't believe in his brothers. He doesn't believe in his franchise. Then he comes back and he does play. It's such a high because he has 11 points in 12 minutes. Then he gets hurt, ruptures his Achilles. But now I do feel like ultimately there is some peace with Kevin Durant because he felt like he did the right thing. He came back, he played. He feels like he's somewhat of a people's champ because he did. He sacrificed his body ultimately to try to win a three-peat. And at the end of the day, as a sports fan, like you want to see a guy go for it. Now, we're going to break this down during the show, but he went for it.
You know, it's interesting. I brought this up yesterday. The question I would ask him, if I had the opportunity to ask him one question, is knowing what you know now, would you still do it? Would you do it anyway? Would you come back and try and play for your team and try and win a championship, even knowing you were obviously at more risk of injury than they thought you were?
And Greeny, I think this is an opportunity for him to have a rebirth because it's going to reset everybody. It's going to recalibrate everybody. It's never going to take away the negativity that you see on social media. But I'm not sure how he will answer that question right now. I think he's still in a state of flux about this whole situation.
I guess the other question is, where's he going to be next year? There are a lot of options involved with that. We'll try and get answers. Jay Will is here. Caron Butler is here. Laura's here. We got a lot of football to do today. Let me give you the rundown. We will look at what the Splash Brothers and Warriors need to do tonight to force a Game 7. On the flip side, what do Kawhi and the Raptors need to do to win it all at Oracle? And much more discussion on KD and AD and Kyrie and all the news involving all those stars. We're coming your way in 22 minutes here on ESPN for Get Up. But right now, Randy, let me get back up to you.
All right, Green. Listen, this story is fake, but it was believed because Twitter is a lawless place. And because the hero of the story is so unique and understated and intriguing that it seemed believable. Now, the fake story goes, Kawhi Leonard went to a team dinner while he was with the Spurs, but instead of ordering, he just pulled out a bag of apples and proceeded to eat a dozen apples with a knife and fork. Now, people make up stories about him because we don't really know much about him. Again, the Apple story is not true. What Mark Schwartz has to say, though, about the unique Apple-free approach about Kawhi, that is.
If you could build a player to dismantle a dynasty, he would probably look exactly like this.
Kawhi Leonard dominating right now as he continues one of the great runs in NBA playoff history.
Kawhi is quiet, but he's relentless.
When Kawhi Leonard goes about the not-so-delicate work of destroying dominance, he doesn't think about your legacy or about his. He simply steps on your throat.
It's not about me being famous. It's about me playing basketball and having fun on the floor.
If you were teaching your kid, you know, this is how you play sports, you'd tell them, compete to win, care about winning, don't let your emotions get the best of, you know, all those things that he is.
While other superstars shimmy, pose, and pound their chests, Leonard is silent, cold-blooded, and emotionless.
He's a machine in terms of how he operates and plays the game.
When I watch games from, you know, Kobe or Shaq or Mike, they always didn't just go nuts. Until we win the game or it's all done, and I'll show some emotion, but I want to stay even keeled while I'm going through it.
For weeks, the media has peppered Leonard about everything from his breakup with the Spurs and Zaza stepping on his foot to what exactly are your plans next year. He dismisses these questions the way he dismisses defenders. To him, only one thing matters: this moment.
I'm not afraid of the moment. I enjoy it.
He's always thinking about the play, the next play, and how we can win that possession, which will enable us to win the game. It's an unbelievable mindset.
Game 6, NBA Finals, tonight. ABC coverage starts with NBA Countdown at 8:30 Eastern, followed by the game itself, Raptors, Warriors, Game 6 at Oracle, 9 Eastern on ABC.